Hey, I'm Dane. I'm here with my partner,
Shane?
and today we have.
Max.
So tell us a little bit about your topic, Max.
My topic is how climate change is affecting the Great Lake water levels and how they're mainly drying up over time and eventually will if the climate doesn't change, like in our CO2 emissions don't go down. And sometimes there's random spikes, though, if the climate is changing too fast.
That's pretty cool. Tell me a little bit about our topic.
So our topic was on how climate change is affecting the lake trout that live inside our Great Lakes.
Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
So one of the things that you said is that water is going to flow over into Lake Ontario. How is that going to happen? And will Lake Ontario be one giant lake? Or is it going to flood cities? Or is it going to dry up? Or what is it going to be like at the end result?
Basically, I was just explaining a spike in my data, how there's just a spike in water in Ontario. And I used Ontario because it mainly shows how it's drying up best out of the other lakes, but the spike is just because some of the water from the other lakes floods into it. So when all the lakes flood, normally Ontario stays flooded for a bit longer because of the drainage into Ontario, but it will eventually dry up.
All right. You want to ask a question to us?
Yeah, my question is, you guys said that 200,000 pounds of trout died, and I was wondering how much roughly is that in trout, actual trout, not pounds.
Okay, so 200,000 pounds. Of course, that wasn't the number of fish exactly. So what we did was we took the average fish, how much the average fish weighs, and divided the number of pounds that we had to get a rough estimate of 15,750 lake trout. Okay. And then, you mind if I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wondering, how does lake ice affect the water levels in Lake Ontario?
Lake ice, basically, it just makes it so, if ice forms earlier, then not as much evaporation will happen. And when the ice forms after it goes away, there's more evaporation. Ice, I guess, can cause more evaporation. Basically, yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I thought it would cool down the water and just make more water.
No, well, it does in the meantime, but after it melts away, it causes more evaporation if there's more ice.
Huh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
And another question for you is about how many fish in total died, and if there were more fish than just trout, are there any other fish a big population died, or you guys do you know that?
Well, there was a lot of fish that died, but we focused a little on lake trout specifically, so we did not look up that information for the other fish. But if you could take how much lake trout died, and you can probably image that in your head how many fish died in total, because it would be a lot. So one last question that we have for you is, so you're saying that Lake Ontario is going to flood.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that.
Well, it will flood because of the water. It floods because climate change, when it changes too fast, gets too warm too fast, all the snow starts melting and then goes into the water, which then floods it. And Ontario, along with the other lakes, will flood. And Ontario floods for a little bit longer because water from the other lakes goes into Ontario. And that's basically what happens. But then after that, the water evaporates away quickly, goes back into the clouds, snowed out, whatever. And it's still basically on the same trend of the lakes drying up.
So that's really cool because our topics kind of correspond with each other.
How the lakes, warming up.
Yeah, because if you cool the lakes, we did in Lake Michigan specifically for our fish, because that lake trout is more known for being in Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said about Lake Ontario could also happen with the other lakes. So you're focusing on one lake, but you're focusing on all the Great Lakes at the same time.
Yeah, my data's on all of them, but for my graph, I just use Ontario because it kind of showed what I meant more.
Yeah, like what we do with Lake Michigan.
And I know
how you guys chose trout instead of all the fish.
I know you said this last question, but actually I have one more question if you're okay with answering it. So you said in your website that the water levels would continue to increase and decrease because of climate change. Why does climate change affect the increase and decrease of water levels?
Well, decreases because with climate change, with getting warmer, there's more evaporation, precipitation, and all that. So the water gets dried up. And then the reason that it spikes is because, like I said before, basically when the temperature changes too quickly, the snow melts and that can flood the lakes.
Okay. Well, we had a nice conversation. Thank you, Max, for coming.
Yeah, it was
thank
fun
you.
talking to you.
Thank you for the questions and thank you for talking to me about my
Yep.
research.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a nice day.